Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And this is not the first time I have said this for this video, because in between recording her original new showcase and now, Octagram Lumi has been nerfed. Quite unfortunate. And we'll still use some of the footage from the previous video, like pre-nerf, just to see how much of a difference there is between then and now, which is literally the span of a day and a half. But if you're, for some reason, not aware, all the Octagram characters got their second skills upgraded. They got a second skill fusion for their remaining skill that wasn't touched in the first batch. And for this one, for Lumi, it touched her second skill, which used to be a alt gauge increase, 50% for 3 turns, and then a protection gauge nerf for 3 turns. Well, initially, they made it a 50% alt buff gauge for 1 turn, and then all commander allies got attack stacking by 30% for the rest of the fight. And that was pretty good, because it wasn't that, I think, overpowered would be the keyword, because it was limited to the commander force, which looks like this. And it's an AoE damage buff, so it only affects AoE characters. So Albedo, Yome, mainly Diablo is the whole reason we're doing this. And then we have a whole bunch of other old characters, a lot of them who are single targets or not meant to be damage characters. Like, yeah, you could do Space Rimuru, you could do one of these 2 Dark Rimurus, but like, you're not AoE DPSing with Harmonizer Rimuru or Wind Trainee, right? So it's not like it affected a great number of units. And I thought it was a fine buff. Like, it was very specific and limited, but it was very powerful. And it essentially made Albedo and Diablo better. Because, Diablo's still a good character. Albedo, we can't say enough about Albedo, about how bad she is. And with Octagram Lumi, I did make her do decent damage in the current Inferno beatdown battle, despite being magic and despite being, kind of terrible. Well, that's no longer the case. So they went and changed it last night, and now they put it back to a 3-turn alt gauge buff and made it everybody gets an AoE buff, but it only caps out at 30% total. So you'd have to use the skill 3 times, and you get a 10, 20, 30% AoE buff for the end of the fight, which is definitely not as good. Definitely not as good. It doesn't mean that she's a terrible character now. It just means that this skill in particular is just not as good as it could have been. She's still really good for her trait. The first 3 turns you get alt gauge, or protection gauge. She's still good for stacking alt damage up to 60 or 80%, depending on, if she's skill fused on this skill. And now everybody gets an AoE buff that's, really small and tiny, but hey, it gets you a little bit extra damage. And you get a lot of extra alt gauge for multiple turns. So let's go ahead and bring up some of the old footage, and then we'll compare it to some new footage. Okay, so here's the video I originally recorded. So Diablo, we're on turn 8 in Inferno 1 beatdown battle. We're fully capped out. So we have the 80% alt damage, plus the 70, plus the 100 from EX Jean, alright? And then once we continue in, we can see that Diablo has an AoE attack buff by 120%. That is a very significant amount of damage that we have going on for Diablo alongside everything else. 140% attack that we've been getting from Violet, the traits, the weakness strike, the physical attack, the guaranteed pierce, all of that going on. And so when we actually launch Diablo's ult, it does really, really good damage for, one character. And he does, 7.5. And this, by all means, is not an optimized run, right? Some of the sweaty tryhards and a lot of the JP players, they were stacking and they were using that a whole bunch, and they were bringing the new Earth Jean who could reset that skill and then you could use it again. And they were hitting, 10, 12 million damage, which is a lot. Like a lot. And I'm pretty sure the devs went and saw that and said, whoa now. Can't be having Diablo do that much. And so then they nerfed her. So let's now compare this 7.5 million damage with the 120% buff with what she can do now. Okay, so this is the team we're going to run. It's still Violet, Diablo, Shizu, Misery, Jean. It's the same exact team, minus the big 3 protection gauge. We're bringing skill point, because honestly, doing this makes turn 2s a whole lot easier, because you have enough points to actually double orb change, and it means that I don't have to sit here for 3 hours trying to get one run. You might get less total stacks with Violet, but dear God, I would ready to blow my brains out half the time trying to fish for a whole hand of just greens for Diablo. So this team has a lot of support, right? You know, Diablo is the AoE DPS, he's got the physical buff, he's got Pierce, we still have the 80% extra ult damage from Lumi alongside Jean's 170. We still have the space resistance down. Like, this team is exactly the same, but instead of getting the 120% or higher AoE buff, we're now sitting at 30, which is just not as impressive, right? So orb change with Misery, turn 1, we'll use the extra gauge increase from her alt swap ability, and then we'll go ahead and send the blues. Lumi is still giving us extra protection gauge on turn 1, so she is, you know, doing quite a bit for us in this team. And again, I want to make it perfectly clear that because Lumi got her second skill fusion nerfed does not make her a terrible unit. She is still, I think, second in line for most people to pick up, if not first, you know, depending on how you want to play the game. I still think Octagram Guy is much better for newer players to pick up, because his guaranteed stun will help, but Lumi is the second best character, because even without the skill fusions, you know, even without needing her to be duped up, she can still give you some protection gauge if you put a dupe in her, and she can give you at least a permanent 60% alt buff. So, I mean, she's not a bad character now, by any means. She's just not as powerful as she could have been 2 days ago, or however many days since I posted this. I don't know when this video is going up. Probably tomorrow. But she's still good, just not as good. And while her AoE buff does now affect literally everyone that's an AoE character, which does help other people who are not, you know, super sweaty tryhards, they're not pushing for 10, 13 million damage, just want to clear the game, and they need a good AoE DPS, and they need a decent, solid support. Lumi can still do that. She is still very much capable of supporting any team, you know, that you put her on, because her permanent alt buff is one of the most generic things you could do. And if you need an AoE DPS, then if you want to do more damage on an AoE, then her AoE buff does help, right? And if you're struggling with getting alt gauge, her skill will still help there too. Now, granted, you do need Lumi to be 100 before any of this is actually really viable. You can just have her at level 80 and do 60%, and you could not watch this video. You know, that's all that matters. But the point is that she's still good, just not as good. And we're going to prove that with this video right here, with this clip, because we need to show off, right? My job is to showcase the unit. And if there's a big old difference between, you know, yesterday and today, we need to, you know, put that into perspective and maybe figure out exactly why the devs decided to nerf her so harshly. You know, again, personally, I didn't think the skill was bad or needed to be nerfed. I didn't think it was OP because it was still super limited to just a very specific amount of characters, mainly Diablo and Albedo. So it's like, okay, cool. You made Diablo and Albedo really good. Albedo needed it. Diablo, I mean, is fine. He's still kind of limited himself with his own buff, but hey, he's a brand new unit, right? He's part of the new meta. Why wouldn't you want to make him very good? Well, I don't know. So, we're using the stacks now. I believe this is the last time we need to use the AoE buff. I think I check it now, or check it next turn. Oh, hey, I messed that up. Unfortunate. Okay, we'll make a cut. Okay, we're back. Totally didn't mean to do that. I was too busy using the stacking buff that I forgot that, oh yeah, we needed to orb change too. So we're going to do that now. And then we'll start using the other skills. Alright, so that's our second usage and our third usage of the AoE buff. So now let's check Diablo just to make sure. And he has AoE attack 30% forever. So we're good. That skill is done for Lumi. We still need to use her alt buff, I think, one more time or something. But hey, it's not difficult to work in as long as you have enough points to do, the alt buff plus that AoE buff plus the orb changes plus the alt swaps. You do need a specific team for this to work. You can't put this on the New Year's Blessing team and get everything for Lumi out and open. That's not what's going to happen. You could put him on the Overlord team. You could definitely do that. You could make Shoutir look good. You could still attempt to make Albedo look good because they're both AoEs. Shoutir will probably look a little better because she's got the alt buff and the defense down, but we all know the defense down doesn't really mean much. So here is, the final usage of the alt buff right there. So, things do need to go your way, right? You do need, again, the points. You do need to have the ability to use a lot of skills very, within 6-7 turns to get the maximum effect, because we still need to nuke as well. Right? This is a nuking team, which means we need, the 295 points minimum to, really do our big-time damage. And so if you don't get that by the, turn 8, or whatever turn you need to nuke, because you're so busy trying to stack up this 30% buff, it's like, that's probably not how you want to play the game, or at least play this team, because you're missing out on a lot of damage for a little bit of damage. It's not a good trade-off. But we're ready to go, almost. So turn 7, we'll alt swap, we'll orb change, 6-7 points. We don't need to use anything else from Lumi. She is done. And yeah, we'll send this. We get 312 points because we're using the skill points on Blue Charm. So because we started with the skill point units and we have a skill point charm on, we're not going to have as many stacks of Violet as the last fight. Hold on 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. So, here we are. We're on turn 8. We have another stack of Violet. We have the permanent 80% alt buff right there. We have the permanent 30% AoE buff from Lumi, so she is done. Let's put one more stack of Violet on. We've got plenty of points to go ahead and use all the other skills that we need to nuke. So the Shizu buff, and then we'll bring Jean in and use her buffs. What is it? 135 points or something like that, and then the Diablo buff. We don't have enough to use anything else. Like, we can't use Misery's orb change because it is too expensive nowadays, but now we have a lot of stuff going on, so that's all capped out. Awesome. And let's see the difference between the 7.5 million that we did the first time with the exact same buffs, except we're missing 90% of the AoE buff now, and one stack of Violet, because the first team we had 140%, now we're at 128, so yes, we will do less just because of that, but it's not so great a number that it's, actually concerning. Everything else is still the same. So let's go ahead and, skip all this. We don't need to watch that. And, okay, yeah, we'll do Diablo's Ult now. So, what number do we get that is different from 7.5? Or, if you're really trying, the 13 millions. Spoiler alert, it's quite hefty. It's quite a hefty downgrade in damage. 4.2. So 7.4, 7.5-ish around there to 4.2 million. We're missing 3 million and change off of one skill. One skill. And they said that was too strong. To which I say, that's kind of bullshit. Because I don't know the next time I'm going to use this Diablo. Because he's limited to Commander and he's limited to Primal Demon. Primal Demons only have so many units. They will get more. Don't worry, we will. But it's like Commander will also get more units down the line. And maybe they were afraid of that. I don't really know. But they were afraid of having Diablo and Albedo do way too much damage. So there's the comparison between previous Lumi and current Lumi. Let's find something else for her to buff now. Alright, we're going to use Lumi on an AoE team, and we're going to use Space Xion and technically Space Rain as well in the old Tempered Edge stage. We're going to use Overlord Protector Rimuru because if we're going to try and use a bunch of skills from Lumi, we either need to be on a stacking team that has a bunch of points or be on a stacking team that has skill resetting, which Rimuru is both. So Orb Change, buffing. She's got the Pierce buff and her AoE stuff, and then Rain has space resistance down and something, and some instant damage for funsies. Yeah, space resistance. Okay, cool, whatever. Not too much of a deal, but let's test this out. All right, we can work with this turn one. We'll just send all these. Now they're going to be Xion orbs. So how much points do we get off this? 36 points. Yeah, let's just go ahead and send this turn one. We'll not use anything from Lumi just yet. And then we're going to get binded next turn for 2 turns, which means that we can't use any of her stacks anyways. So I don't think we're going to get up to the max capacity on this stage, but we can definitely see at least what a little bit of that will help. An older team, because there are no EX battle characters here. We just have an EX protector, which is important, but if you can use Guy if you want or something. So there's the green buff. Boom. Let's start raising our elemental damage up with Rimuru. Awesome. We'll send 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 max points. Another stack. Awesome. We didn't click on Lumi for some reason. All right. So we're still binded. Hopefully this next turn works out for... yeah, that works. Okay. I can actually just send her ult here and just orb change, huh? Yeah, I think so. So boom. Let's put the charms on for funsy onesies. Just because. And we'll make back all that ult gauge anyways. So, skill not often used. The Enamor charm, whatever you want to call it. Pierce buff. Again, for fun. We'll reset all of that with Rimuru. And then next turn we will be unbinded. And then we can start using some Lumi stacks as well. So this will be a good determination of where our AoE damage is right now with, 2 stacks of Rimuru and the Pierce buff. So Xion, yeah, we can watch this. It's our first one. And then we can compare, the damage as it gets slowly higher and higher and higher. Not just because of Rimuru stacking, but because of the effects from Lumi herself. Artful Gifter. 38k. Okay. I mean, yeah, it's not great, but we will definitely make it go higher. So 14-8 on a guard. Okay, good hand right there. I don't have anyone to swap alts away, which is a little bit unfortunate. But we could... yeah, we can immediately ult again, so... Alright, so there's some alts. Boom. Let's do the Isis orb change. And then we'll get Isis out of here. Do we need the green buff again? No, we're good. Alright, so let's bring Lumi in. Alright, perfect. Look at those oranges. Alright, so orange, boom, and now let's use 1 stack of the ult plus 1 stack of the AoE damage. And you know what? I'm not even going to use Rimuru here, just so we can see the immediate increase that Lumi is putting on Xion now. So we did 38k last time, and we're going to do more here. Let's reapply the Pierce even though it's still going. Let's go ahead and reapply the Charm, and now we'll put it on everybody. And, Xion does get the extra Charm Strike, Enamor Strike, so she will do more damage. Hopefully she doesn't kill. But now we do 49k. Okay, so 38 to 49 went up, 10k damage right there. Not bad. 16k on Sufia. She is also an AoE character, so she's also benefiting from that AoE buff. And now we're going to do it again. And, okay, that hand's not super great. We're going to get a lot of ult gauge, though. Okay, yeah, that works out. Okay, so let's reset. Okay, and then we can use Lumi again at, minimal cost. Boom, boom. Orb change. Is that what's coming in as another green? Okay, that works. We can take Lumi out for... for Isis. That pulls that blue in. And you know what? Let's not ult with Xion. That way we don't kill everybody. Let's bring Rain in. And then we can use the Isis Orb change as well. Yeah, we'll just do it, whatever. Isis Orb change. So this is a single target. We'll hit Dino. We shouldn't do that much damage. Lumi will probably heal everybody after this turn, which also is nice. So yeah, guard. Awesome. Okay, cool. And then we'll come back. We'll be capped out on the AoE buff next turn on Xion. So that's probably the most important thing. And we'll have, what, 3 stacks of the ult? So that'll be typical of someone who is not skill-fused Lumi first off, or her first skill. Oh, no heal. Okay. Well, I think Xion's gonna wipe now. So let's do everything. Let's put on the space resistance down 25%. That'll help us hit harder. We'll bring Xion in for Rain. We'll bring Lumi in for Isis. And then we'll use the last couple of stacks. We'll reset them again. And then we're going to wipe. And, hey, if you need an AoE skill buffer or, damage buffer, then Lumi will still be able to do you pretty well. Alright, does everyone have Charm on? No, but you're gonna. Alright, so you're charmed. Lumi's charmed. We got the Pierce buff again, just for funsies. And now, we are up to 60% ult, and we have the full 30% AoE somewhere. There you go, right here. 30% Pierce power, 100% Pierce rate, Charm strike 15%. And now let's go ahead and send it and see what our final damage is. And just in case we don't kill. 100k. That's with, other stacks of Rimuru, right? So that's adding on. We have the space resistance down debuff, but you could see that our damage started to ramp up as the fight went on. And that's, what Lumi's meant to do. It's supposed to help you ramp up damage on a stacking team. So that's a pretty realistic scenario right there. So again, Lumi is good. She's just not as good as what she was 2 days ago for only Diablo and only Albedo. So if I had tried to run this team, that AoE buff from Lumi yesterday wouldn't have done crap on this team because Xion's not on Commander, right? So, if she... I don't think so. I don't think so. Actually, I don't know. Am I talking on my ass? Hold on. I gotta make sure I'm not crazy. Nope, we're good. Okay, yeah, she wouldn't have gotten that buff. So Lumi, still a good character. Still totally worth it for an Octagram unit pickup. Just... she's not going to make Diablo and Albedo hit stupid hard. She's just going to make everyone hit harder. A bit harder. But let me know what you guys think about this whole thing. That's it for me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.